Chapter 6, Hire Slowly but Fire Quickly. In 2003, I was working for Canada's largest collection agency, where I was well into my fourth year of service as a manager to a team doing $2 million in receivables. My staff were well trained and loyal, which meant our recovery rates were incredible. Earlier that year, I had a new vice president assigned to our group, a French-Canadian guy from a very rough
Audio's
background.
good.
I remember him telling us stories about his childhood and how his father shot himself in the face. He clashed with me from the get-go. He would publicly disrespect me in front of my staff and make me run detailed reports, which he never looked at for his own personal amusement. After a few months of putting up with his disrespect, something snapped inside of me, and I let him know what I thought of him.
Thanks.
This is where I learned the valuable lesson that people get hired for their skills and resume, but get fired for fit. Towards the end of the year, only 3 weeks after I moved into my first house with a big mortgage, a manager's salary needed to come off the books for corporate cost cutting. Guess who was selected by my loving vice president to go home? Me. The initial burn of being handed that severance package hurt, but this push inspired me to go create my own business, which helped me settle consumer credit card debt, and I will forever be thankful for that. It was about a decade later when I finally learned the lesson to hire slowly and fire quickly in my own business. You can use this idea with women in your life, employees, business partners, and even friends. Take your time vetting people, get to know them and study their behavior. The choices someone makes and how they behave should always trump what they tell you if there's a conflict between actions and words. For example, don't listen to what they say, watch what they do. If your spidey senses tingle, listen to your intuition. It knows something is up. Intuition is the little voice whispering in your ear, and it often only becomes a loud shout when it's too late and you're going to experience a train wreck. My single mommy experience. Shortly after my divorce, I got involved with a single mom of 2 boys, and for the first few months, it was great fun dating her. After a few short months, she started suggesting that I meet her boys. This was when my intuition started whispering to me, telling me it wasn't a good idea, but I ignored it. Of course, my intuition only became a shout when her older son manufactured indignation. He started throwing a bad hissy fit, yelling at me and calling me names because I enforced a boundary with them that they didn't like 8 months after I met them. Their mother sided with the bratty behavior, completely ignoring the fact that I was right. In hindsight, I should have limited my time in that relationship to just her and let it run its course. I never should have become involved with her kids. I should have also quickly fired her ass and ended the relationship with her at that point and then moved on. But I let the torture drag on for nearly 2 more years. I also endured several similar incidents because I, again, ignored my intuition. It ended in a colossal train wreck for me with a severe case of one-itis when she cheated on me after I tried to enforce boundaries with her kids again. The business partner experience. Shortly after I took my severance package and went home, I partnered with a friend of mine I used to work with to offer debt relief services to consumers. He still had a job that paid him very well, so I was doing almost all of the work and he was taking half the money out of the business account every month. I was working exceptionally hard to make it work. We were making about $30,000 a month for a business with only 2 staff and no overhead, so it initially felt amazing. That was until I realized that my partner had a drug problem and was a control freak. My intuition was telling me to get out, but once again, I didn't listen. It wasn't until 8 months later when it became a literal shout in my head, and only when my business partner was screaming at me over my insistence for him to quit his job and join me full-time. In a full-blown state of hysteria, he began yelling at me that he never put me on the corporate books and that I technically don't exist in the business. Initially, it ended very badly, but I picked myself back up quickly and with my brother formed what would become Canada's most successful debt settlement company. Anytime I've gotten into trouble with women, employees, business partners, or anything else, it was because I didn't listen to my intuition and fire that person from my life quick enough. With women, friends, employees, and business associates, always hire slowly and fire fast. You must be fastidious with your time and who you allow into your inner circle. The cold hard truth. Never forget, it's incumbent on you to
Okay, so that's the cold hard truth part of the book is really just a summary of the chapter, which I can skip over. I talked a lot about intuition in that chapter, and I've never really done much on these podcast shows dealing with that. I frame it in the book as this little voice. It's a whisper. Using that as an example, it could be dealing with a woman that is problematic. Maybe she's got red flags, but at some point there's going to be a little voice in your head, even if you haven't read the chapter on red flags, where most people that are tuned in, especially as you get older and you get duped and people fuck you over and, you know, they take advantage of you. There might, it could be financially or any other way, or they mislead you. You start having this gut reaction, and it's, you know, like I said in the book, it's like this little voice that's like, hey man, you might want to pay attention to this. You know, she's hanging out with that ex-boyfriend of hers and she's having coffee with him. Hey man, she's got a lot of male friends. Hey man, you know, she likes to go out and party a lot. You know, that little voice, that's your gut, that's your intuition, and it's whispering to you. The problem is that we suck at listening to it. We think we know better. We think that, and again, you know, it could be because we think we know better. It could be because we're thinking with the wrong head. But you proceed anyway, and chaos generally ensues. And it will ensue at some point if your intuition's picking up on something. Getting good at listening to your gut isn't that difficult of a skill. You all have it. You got it. I got it. We all got it. We all have a vibe that picks up on shit that can damage, hurt, or even kill us, you know? So call it whatever you will, your guardian angel, your intuition, your gut, whatever it happens to be. Most people will ignore it when it whispers. We can't ignore it when it becomes a shout. I couldn't ignore it when that gal I was dating that had 2 kids from her prior marriage in tow, and, you know, the kid was throwing a hissy fit, having a spaz, calling me names and all this sort of shit. You can't ignore it then. Then you're confronted with dealing with it. And as I've stated many times, and I covered in, you know, my book, women that have children, they're not going to side with you. They're often going to side with the kid's bad behavior. Not always 100% of the time, but the vast majority of women, that's how they respond. So using your intuition in relationships, in business transactions, in if you're an employer, if you're an employee, if you're dealing with friends, if you're dealing with anything that you're building with people, associates, businesses, partnerships, it doesn't matter. Listen to it. What is it telling you? A couple of friends of mine, they like to journal, and they'll just journal down, you know, ideas during the day. That's one way to do it. You know, some people, you know, they'll make audio notes. All phones now have a voice recorder. It's actually called voice recorder on Android phones. And, you know, you can make audio notes, you know, sort of journaling what your gut's picking up on. Use these tools in life to evaluate and assess and hone it. Because in hindsight, it's 100% accurate. You know, they always say hindsight's 20/20. It's always 100% accurate. We had this facilitated retreat once. Dude's name is Colin Collard. He's kind of invisible in the business space, but he's one of the best managers of entrepreneurs and coaches to try to get the best out of you and your business. And we've spent multi-days with this guy several times in a business forum that I was in many, many years ago. This is circa 2010 to 2013 or so. And one of the most valuable lessons that I took away from some of the retreats and some of the times that we were working together, these were like small groups of like 7 to 8 guys and a couple of gals in one of the forums that I was in, where you get to know each other very well. You break bread, you know each other's families, you know their husbands and wives and, you know, stuff like that, their boyfriends, girlfriends. You get to know them really well. So you're in this environment where you're being built up. It's usually a retreat. There's nobody around. Phones are off, sort of shit. And it was like paying attention to your gut and listening to it. One of the things that came up, there was a guy, you know, I can share the story because I can water it down and sort of like make it vague to get the point across. But there was a guy that was dealing with a employee who was a problem, and he was continuously being problematic. He was zigging when he was saying zag. It's like if you're with a chick and you set a boundary and you say, look, I don't deal with women. You know, she's obviously saying, hey, Rich, dig your vibe. Where do we stand? Are we in a relationship? You know, I don't want to share you, blah, blah, blah. You say, fine, that's cool. But I noticed that, you know, you're friends with one of your exes, and I can't take a chick seriously that deals with one of her exes. So if that's a problem for you, I just don't see this working out. Okay. So, you know, she lets, you know, the ex go. But if she keeps hanging out with him, right? Or keeps meeting up with them, keeps texting, doesn't even meet up with them, but keeps texting, stays in communication. That's a boundary. You know, that's a line in the sand that you've set. That is your bottom line. And if they cross it, then that's room for dismissal. Same thing with this guy that I was working with in this business for him. He had this trouble. He has a problem employee. He kept crossing the bottom line. He kept pushing into it, kept causing havoc, drama, manufactured indignation. And the question then became, when do you fire somebody? You know, is it an evaluation process? Is it how much money they make you in that business? What do they do? What are their tasks? Who do they know? How long have they been with you? What's it going to cost you to package them off? And surprisingly, the answer we always came back to, which solved the problem, and it's usually the simplest thing in the world, was as soon as you realize they need to go. It's as simple as that. When do you fire somebody? As soon as you realize they need to go. AKA, hire slowly, fire quickly. People get hired for their resume. They get hired for their ability. They get hired for their skills, or as they hold out to the public that they have. And slowly over time, as you watch their behavior and how they interact with people and what they do and who they hang out with and all that sort of stuff, they'll tell you who they are. And if you discover who they are is not who you want on board in your relationship, in your business, in your friendships, whatever it happens to be, it doesn't matter. The minute that you realize that they're not a good fit, that's when you get rid of them. And the sooner you can get to that point, the sooner you can get rid of people that are anchors in your life, that are problematic, that are going to expose you to risk, that betray bottom lines that you set. You know, one of the rules that I set for myself and people that I collaborate with is I don't work with losers and I don't work with people that work with losers. So I'll say that again. I don't work with losers and I don't work with people that work with losers. So if I identify a group, a company, an organization, whatever it happens to be, that I don't agree with their mission, how they operate, what they do for business, what they're selling, what their service is, what their product, it doesn't matter. And it's them. There's always the us versus them dynamic. Jack Donovan talks about it. I've mentioned his books before. I don't have them here in front of me to wave in front of you, but Jack Donovan talks about the notion of us versus them. There's an empire of nothing out there that they're trying to build for us. The globalists want us all to be all inclusive. Everybody take your jabs, stand on your dots, get all scared about some shit, you know, trending new thing, change your Facebook, social media avatars because you're standing with whoever, standing with whatever flag, whatever cause, whatever the fuck it is that they want you to care about. The empire of nothing, right? And the reality of the world is that's not how things have worked throughout history. It's always been us versus them, okay? So define who us is, draw a perimeter around us, and then define who them are and keep them on the outside. You don't want them to stop eating, feeding themselves, whatever. I want them to eat, just not at my table. So you have to define these things for yourself. This is how you keep your life simple. This is how you keep your life productive. This is how you avoid chaos and drama and unnecessary issues in your life, in your business, and in your relationship, is being fastidious with these lines that you draw in the sand. And you tell these people, you tell these women that you're with, you tell these people that you're in business with, you tell employees that you have, you tell employers, you know, it doesn't matter what it happens to be. If there's a line in the sand that you draw, which is your bottom line, draw it, state it, and let them know why. And if they cross it, you fire them. You fire their ass, right? I already told you, I don't hang out with chicks that, you know, keep men around from their past. So what's it going to be? Because you can't keep hanging out with Bill, right? Like, you guys were porking for years. You were engaged. Doesn't matter whatever it happens to be. You don't even have to explain yourself. Just state your, you know, you make the statement of fact, and it is what it is. And if that's the choice that you're going to make, then I know the choice that I have to make. You know, it's as simple as that. So they can't ever be confused, upset with you. Oh, I was mistreated. I can't believe that, you know, he did that. You fucking told them what you were going to do before you did it, right? So again, hire slow, watch their behavior, see what they're all about, size them up. And if they cross your bottom line, if they don't fit, you fire them. I really hope you guys enjoyed that clip. If you want to watch the full-length podcast, you can find that over here, that clip's from. If you're newer to the channel, make sure you hit subscribe over here, and pin down below in the top comment, you'll find a bunch of useful links to my website, my supplement line, books, and a bunch of other stuff. Have an amazing day. Peace out.